Hey, Domainers, welcome to the Film Squad podcast. That stands for Frequently I Like Movies. My name is Leo, and today we're talking about our favorite movies of all time. I'm joined today by Mark.
This is Mark. You can check me out on YouTube, Movies with Mark and movieswithmark.com. And on Twitter, I'm madness_Mark.
I'm also joined here today by The Milkman.
Hello, I'm the Milkman. My Instagram, The Amazing Milkman on Instagram.
Also, let's give it up for Roman.
Hey, what's up? I'm Roman. You can also find me on YouTube at NovaZone TV.
And once again, we have the illustrious Nemo joining us here today.
Hello, I'm Nemo Nobody. You can find me on YouTube at Nemo Nobody, on Twitter at Nemo Nobody, and on Instagram at Nemo Nobody.
All right, now that we have everybody introduced, anyone want to say what one of their favorite movies of all time is? Anyone want to throw their hat in the ring?
Saving Private Ryan.
That's a good one. A very good one. You know, I like the movie, but have you played the video game Medal of Honor Frontline?
Yes.
They take a lot of inspiration from the beach landing scene in Saving Private Ryan. Have you played that specific level in the video game?
I mean, like, not only does that game take it, but there's just so many games that completely, like, they don't rip off per se, but they're very infatuated with the way that Saving Private Ryan did the beach landing.
Yeah.
And, like, just basically every World War II game just took that and ran with it.
I think, like, a big difference, though, when it comes to other ones taking inspiration from it, I think they actually had some of the producers or like directors or people who were actually involved in the making of Saving Private Ryan in the video game production for that specific level. So I think you had some of the movie cast doing some parts for the video game, which was pretty interesting, pretty cool.
I did not know that. It actually brings a lot more interest. Like knowing that, I might go back and like play some of those levels to see like, you know, how exactly they went about that.
I think my favorite part is like, spoilers if you haven't seen the movie, but you know it's been out for a while. You should probably have already seen it by now. I mean, have you guys all seen the movie?
Decades.
Yeah.
Milkman, have you seen the movie?
No.
Okay, well, cover your ears just for like 10 seconds, okay? I don't want you. So, like near the end of the movie, Tom Hanks, right, Nemo? Tom Hanks is shooting at a tank with a Colt M1911. And you're like, okay, what the hell is he going to do with a 45 ACP, right? I mean, iconic gun, obviously, but, you know, against a tank, you're not going to do much. And then kablamo, it explodes, and then he's like, oh, my God, the M1911 blew it up, which is not the case at all. I think, what was it, like a fighter plane flew over and dropped a bomb on it, right?
Yeah, that's what happened. And he, like, looked at his gun like, I did that? Like, out of this gun?
Yeah.
He's just, like, staring at his gun like, I have the power.
He's like, did I pack-a-punch this gun or something? What's going on?
Yeah. Mustang and Sally? Whoa.
Now, Nemo, like, what makes it your favorite movie? Like, what specifically, you know?
It has to do with a little bit of nostalgia, to be completely honest.
That's fair.
Like, there's a lot of good aspects of this movie. There's nothing I can really get onto it about, because like the setting of it, I really like the whole World War II theme, that aesthetic. Things seemed pretty good. Like, I haven't gone back and watched it in recent weeks. I think it was like 3 weeks ago last time I watched it, and I've been watching so many other films that it's just kind of been blurred out. But the writing seemed pretty on point. The acting was actually fantastic for movies back then, because movies back then, acting isn't exactly like A+ for a lot of those. It was supposed to be the debut of Matt Damon, actually. He was trying to get a no-name actor, and then
oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was trying to get a no-name actor, but sadly, Good Will Hunting came out a year earlier and completely screwed up that plan. Because he was trying to get, you know, some random guy, but some random guy ended up turning into like one of the biggest names for that entire year. But yeah, no, there's a lot of nostalgia behind it. I used to watch it when I was a little wee child. Yeah, my parents let me watch our movies for some reason. And that was one of the movies they let me watch, and I was super infatuated with it, and it was just an awesome movie to just watch overall.
Any of you guys want to add something about Saving Private Ryan? Is it one of your top favorites, or do you enjoy the movie, or do you despise the movie? Anyone want to say anything?
So the last time I actually watched it, I was like 12. It was just on TV, home alone. No one was really stopping me. And I remember, I didn't really understand a lot of it. Sorry, I said last time. I meant to say first time I saw it. But I was like actually traumatized by the beach scene for a while.
Well, that's the point. It's supposed to
I
be
know,
traumatizing.
But like,
But he was a
kind of
12-year-old child.
I never wanted to go back to it until I was like 17, and then I saw it again, and I realized, oh, hey, this is actually saying something. It's not just gore to be gore. Because at that time, I just watched lots of stupid ass flicks.
Like, it's not just like, like just a pointless like grit from war. Like, yeah, like you were talking about the opening beach scene. It's competently assembled and it's very action packed, but then there are lots of moments that show the humanizing element, like that one soldier on the ground with his guts crying out to his mother, to let you know that the war sucks ass. So, so to just remind you, just in case you get caught up in all the crazy grit here, just remind you, this was a real thing where people died.
It happened
in mass. So
war is not pretty, folks. It ain't.
Yeah, I think the intro scene really like brings like it really shows the sacrifice, because I don't know if you guys remember the intro, but the intro is he's walking up to a grave site like for where all these dead soldiers are, and he runs up to this one specific one and starts breaking down in front of it, and like his family starts freaking out, like what's wrong with him, and like just the trauma traveled from his youth of being a 17-year-old person, 17-year-old man in the army with all of his family dead. And the one person that saved his life, he sacrificed his life to save his. And what the person that plays Matt Damon's character, he doesn't think that was, he doesn't think it was right to sacrifice so many men just for his life.
One of the best scenes too.
One thing that I don't want to say ruined the whole movie for me, because obviously the movie's good, but just one part that really kind of irks me the wrong way, or kind of makes me think a little bit. Vin Diesel in this movie, Vin Diesel. I'm used to seeing him in Fast and Furious and spouting his bullcrap lines. One last ride. It's all about family. I live my life a quarter mile at a time. So when I see him come on screen, I just can't take it seriously, because I'm used to seeing him in these like, I'm not going to say street racing movies, because honestly, they stopped being about street racing years ago. These action heist movies.
Super street racing now.
Yeah, it's super street racing, jumping off ledges, skyscrapers. And I don't know if you guys saw the new trailer for the new Fast and Furious, but they're like jumping off mountains now, or islands. Yeah, so
John Cena.
So if there's one thing to say about the Furious movies, at least they have actual numbers next to them.
Well, there's Tokyo Drift.
Well, there was Tokyo Drift. It's funny, they went from having numbers, Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, no numbers. Then they brought the numbers back.
Yeah.
They're still chaotically named too. Like what do we call it? Like
the Furious, the Return of the Furious, or something like that.
The last one we called it was the 8th one, and we called it the Fate of the Furious.
Yeah,
because it's
Fate in there.
8.
Yeah.
Isn't the new one just F9?
I think
so.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a key on your keyboard. It's right next to
what this is.
Yeah. But the whole Vin Diesel thing didn't ever take me out, because I watched this movie before any of the Fast and Furious movies. I also watched Riddick before I watched any Fast and Furious as well. So I took, like, those were a lot more serious roles that he had. So
he had quite a few
you were saved.
serious roles after that. Yeah. He was in like was it Boiler Room, and was that, there was one where he's like a mafia lawyer. There was like, he was like in a few different films, and then of course he had a lot of
lawyer. That's a movie.
I think he was like either a mafia lawyer or somebody was defending him as a mafia don. It was something like, it was some courtroom dark comedy. But during that time also he was an Iron Giant. So,
well, he's also well known for his role as Groot, the most serious role by Vin Diesel.
Very, very.
I completely forgot about that.
Well, actually, he is going to play another comic character, but it's by It's a Valiant comic called Bloodshot that's like really edgy,
Oh, yeah.
very 90s. No one gives a shit about it in 2020, but that's gonna happen.
So I know we
I
kind
mean,
of went off topic with Vin Diesel, but does anyone else
Mhm.
want to add anything to Nemo's favorite movie, Saving Private Ryan?
Big benchmark for war films. If any other film attempts to try to showcase around that area, I think that's like a big benchmark that a lot of people go for. So yeah,
Agree with that.
it's definitely one of the better in terms of like it's staging and it's like human elements. Yeah, it's definitely one of the better war films.
So that actually brings up something else. So back like post World War One, a lot of radio broadcasts. There's a lot of very anti-war broadcasts on there, and obviously like
Mhm.
radio more so kind of evolved into TV, at least as far as America goes. Like films, there wasn't a lot of anti-war films until like the '60s and Vietnam and all that.
Well,
Mhm.
not as not quite as many like anti-war films, but there were
Yeah.
films that
Oh yeah, there was
tried
always war
to.
films.
Well, yeah, but there were even like films that tried to portray, some of the emptiness of war, stuff like All Quiet on the Western Front.
Mhm.
Right. I
There,
mean, but here's the thing:
yeah,
all those movies, at the end, the American soldier was the good guy. At least
pretty
all the
much,
ones
yeah.
made in the
Yeah.
U.S.
In Saving Private Ryan, there are plenty of people who we're supposed to be rooting for that are doing monstrous things. Which one? When they actually take the beach, Vin Diesel and one of his pals that speaks German, they go up and there's people begging for mercy, and they decide to shoot them anyways, saying, "Oh, I couldn't hear what you're saying," something like that. And then later on, like after they take the beach, the translator that they took that didn't know how to fire a gun very well allowed someone to go, and he ends up killing the entire rest of the crew later on at
I
the final
remember
battle.
that.
Yeah.
And then the
So like
heroes falls
we
and
have
gets
these
to kill
characters
people.
that we're supposed to root for that do monstrous things, but they try to redeem them. So I think it like humanizes, like it shows the human aspect of war, like the loss and the misery. And I feel like that's something a lot of war films kind of gloss over, where it's like, Grunt A shoots, enemy B, and Grunt C shoots enemy Delta or some
Yeah.
bullcrap. It brings a lot more humanity to the war than we're typically shown.
Well, we have Saving Private Ryan as Nemo's, and I think we
Sure.
all agree. A good pick. A good pick. Moving on, Roman, what's your pick for one of your top
All
favorite movies
right.
of all time?
Well, we're gonna go very heavy shift. Have y'all seen Clerks? Kevin Smith film?
No, but I've heard of it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Lots of YouTube clips of it.
So, thing about Clerks, it was semi-reactionary. So Kevin Smith, when he made it, had no money, pulled out a bunch of loans to make it. If it was a flop, he would have been
Screwed.
probably stabbed by some people. So a few things about it. First of all, it's black and white just because he needed cheaper film. It was the early 90s. So, we didn't have digital film at the time. So you still had to buy it, put it in the camera, all that junk. But it was kind of it sparked a bit of an indie revolution because he did somewhat prove anyone can make a movie. And there's a lot of minimalist things in that pretty much the whole thing takes place in the gas station, in a quickie mart, actually, not even a gas station. And
It's
it's
called
just
like
about this
the
one dude.
bottle type film. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that, except there is one scene actually. They go
A
to
few
their
scenes where they
friend's
veer out,
funeral.
yeah.
Yeah, but the main one I'm thinking of, they go to their like old classmate's funeral, not even friend, and they totally ruin it. But we don't see them ruin it. They walk in there and then they run out with people chasing them, just because they fucked up somehow.
They
Oh,
they
it's
mention once they get back to the quick stop what happened, which is kind of like funnier because they're gonna screw something up, but just when they get back and they're arguing about how like the body fell out of the casket and why did you do this?
yeah. Like they don't make it clear how it happened, so that's always funny. It's
You
clearly
know
just a
who caused it.
it's clear that Kevin Smith just couldn't afford to go shoot in there, so he skipped it. And there's a few other things kind of like that. So this is a fun
Did
trivia. So
they did make that for anyone who's seen like the big DVD, they actually animated that scene. So they got like the voice the original actors back together, and they did a voice for that scene in the funeral home.
Yeah,
So you
actually,
can so if you look at like the big DVD, you can actually see that scene.
yeah. So, well, Kevin Smith likes getting a lot of actors. Like the dude who played Dante still appears in all his movies, and there was this one. There was one directed by Jason Mewes, and
Oh, Madness to the Method.
yeah, Madness to the Method. And he was always spouting the catchphrase he had from Clerks, and he's like, "I'm not even supposed to be here today because the point of
First thing ever, because
wasn't
like yeah,
supposed
like
to be at work that day, and it was the worst fucking day ever."
so great about like him and like Madness to Method is that like they kind of establish that he's sick of that line, but they show him in private and he's like yeah, I nailed that line.
Yeah. Although, so fun trivia on the movie. So near the start, he finds that the gate for the uh the basically 7-Eleven is gummed shut by some little kids. And the
The
reason for
shutters.
that is because Kevin Smith was only allowed to shoot at night. And so he didn't want to make it evident that it was not daytime when they were shooting indoors. So they just said, "Oh, the gate's closed. They're open, but can't see any light in here." Which I figure if he did shoot it in color, that probably would have become a bigger issue.
Easier because then yeah, you can kind of like just force contrast lighting and then not be able to tell, and it also makes it easier to shoot because yeah, then you lose daylight. It's like, well, it doesn't really matter what it is out because you're just shooting in a room, so whenever.
Yeah. And then, is it just the two of us that have seen it, or have any of y'all watched it?
I have not watched it. Like I'm completely lost in talking about it. I haven't watched any of the other films that he's related to. I'm very like indifferent
Okay,
to this.
well,
Have
maybe this
y'all
will
ever
make
seen
you more
Clerks?
interested.
Mm-mm.
So, Matt Damon is actually in a lot of Kevin Smith films as well. This is like one of the few he's not.
Gotcha. I'm looking up Kevin Smith as we speak.
Yeah, mainly Mallrats. That's probably
Oh, it's
my
this guy. I've
second
seen
favorite of his
him
movies.
I would
before.
think that like what would probably be is like his more notable ones because I keep thinking like Clerks would be the biggest one.
Oh, I've watched Tusk,
Okay, yeah, his newer things are very different. Like,
Cop Out. I watched. Apparently he did Rise of Skywalker.
he did something there. I think he kind of just went on set and
Oh, he
said this
does.
'cause he's like,
Yeah,
he's a
he does a
fucking
lot of like
idiot.
geeking out. Yeah.
Oh, he did a few of the Die Hards.
Yeah. Oh, wait, actually, he said being on
That's
set
right.
for
He
Die
was.
Hard was like awful.
That's right. He was in Die Hard 4.
Yeah.
Is that Keanu
Um,
Reeves? Oh no, it's Jason Lee. Okay, I don't know how I got those two mixed up. Wow. Okay, I'm a disgrace to the film community. Yeah, he's in a lot of actually big films.
Yeah, but apparently working with Bruce Willis is like torture.
Yeah,
At
I've
least
heard a
according
lot of
Kevin
that.
Smith.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I've heard that a lot around like the community.
yeah, I mean,
The
it
people from
doesn't shock me.
Friends and
He
stuff.
is older fella who kind of has his own franchise that is so synonymous with his name that he probably can do whatever he wants with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know there was a new-ish one, right? I know I haven't seen whatever the newest Die Hard is whenever it came out.
Oh god, that was a while ago. Die Hard, Die Another, something like Die Hard Another Day or something stupid like that.
A Good Day to Die Hard. Yeah.
Good Day to Die Hard, yeah.
Whenever it came out, I remember the trailers, but I didn't go see it. Is basically the point.
Well, nobody
Same.
did. No.
I think the last Die Hard movie I watched was Live Free or Die Hard.
Yeah, it's the fourth one.
Oh, okay, yeah, then yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I didn't watch the fifth one.
What's the plaza name of the first one? Nakatomi Plaza, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's all I remember.
For the
I have a
were they
machine
on
gun.
Christmas?
You know, he's probably just mad. He has like what was it, hearing damage or hearing loss in some of his ears because of the
Mhm.
he was firing off an M9 like really close to his face or something during the shoot.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I mean that would make anyone pissed off, for the rest
So
of their
he's
life.
just compensating.
Yeah, wear ear protection, kids. You don't want to lose your hearing.
Yeah, so y'all never seen Clerks, huh?
Mm-mm.
I've seen Friday.
It's
It's
Friday.
interesting enough. It's kind of similar to it's just kind of like a one wild day type thing of like two. One works at a convenience store and the other works at a video shop.
Yeah, I mean, Friday is. They do have similar themes because a lot of early '90s films kind of had that, like, there's not much going on. Life is kind of boring because in the '90s it was kind of prosperous.
Well, that was part of like the independent scene too, because there are like a few films about just plucky guys just trying to get by. Because like a similar film that went through a similar process of trying to get made was like Hollywood Shuffle a few years back. I mean, that was made on a budget of like nothing, and it ended up making a huge profit. And it's mostly just about just one working class guy struggling to get by. And there were a ton of films like that were coming out that were becoming interesting because they had great dialogue and they had this like chipper sense to them as like indie productions.
I think one of the bigger points to it might be because a lot of young people, like, this also goes back to music, like mainly Nirvana was kind of a big sense on we're young, we don't know what the fuck we're doing, life is kind of ass. And so that was kind of starting to show in a lot of the more underground, cheaply made products like Clerks, like a lot of music, because
Oh, the perfect encapsulation of that is Richard Linklater's film Slacker. Slacker is literally just like it's just following a bunch of like fairly young people just really talking about nothing. They're just they amble around, they talk about soda, and like some of the times they skateboard, and it just perfectly encapsulates it. Like Linklater always does that. He just like hangs around people and then dialogue will just fall out of them. So
and then I guess that's most of what I've got to say on Clerks, if not much of the rest of us have a discussion.
Well, I think one thing I'd say is my homework: watch Clerks. And for all of you who haven't seen it, I think Roman would agree. Go watch Clerks.
super hilarious.
Also, the entire Schmooniverse, I believe it was called. He has a
Is that like the Kevin Smith universe?
The
Yeah,
View
so
is Skewniverse.
Skewniverse, that's what it was. It was like
That's right.
every movie from Clerks until Clerks 2 he did, and then nothing until Jay and Silent Bob reboot, which was something from last year, actually. I got to see it in theaters. It was fucking hilarious.
There's still kind of a connection he has, like between like was it Tusk and Yoga Hosers? There's a detective character he's tried to detach to them, but
Yeah. Although, if there's one thing I was disappointed with in Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and anyone who has seen the first Jay and Silent Bob movie will understand what I mean. There was no big ass song at the end done by Morris Day.
oh yeah.
Well,
That's really strange too, because like the Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I think it came out around the same time as Method to Madness too.
Yeah, I think they were like trying to do a few. I remember I saw Method to Madness on like Amazon or whatever it was they put it on, and then like 2 weeks later I saw Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
That's so strange.
I assumed there was some like double features in cinemas. I saw a double feature that did Jay and Silent Bob original and then the reboot film, which was neat because it reminded me a lot of. There's a lot of callbacks to that movie. Mainly, he well, it's kind of spoiler. So in the original movie, there was the chick that Jay was with, and then in the reboot, there's the chick and this daughter that she has that was actually Jay's, and it's kind of this long thing, and the chick's a lesbian now. Uh, it's a lot funnier when it's all revealed to you, obviously.
Yeah, it's a fairly common trope. You know, when they try to dig up old characters, they'll throw a daughter into the mix or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of lost in that whole universe, but I did watch Tusks, and that was a weird movie. I do remember it was about a podcaster.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, you. Okay. Yeah. Tusk was about a podcaster that went up to like Canada, for an interview. Like he was trying to, interview people about this, weird thing that he found online. And then the mystery continues, and then weird stuff happens. If you haven't watched it, it was okay. I don't know if it was a good movie, but it was enjoyable at least.
I will
Not
tell
a
you,
great movie. Yeah.
It's
It's
yeah, that's
not
what I'm
a
saying.
good-
It's not a great movie, but it's like enjoyable and laughable. Like it's trying to be scary. It's trying to be scary, but it's not.
It's trying
so
to be a
Tusk is
creature
laughable.
feature.
It's not
Yeah.
a good indicator of other Kevin Smith films, but there is a story why he made it. So Kevin Smith has a lot of podcasts, and on one of them, he saw this little joke ad where someone put up the same thing of, "Hey, I need a roommate. You can live for free, but you need to start dressing like a walrus." And so on his podcast, he said, "Hey, if y'all give me enough money, I will make this an actual film." And so then he got enough money, so he made it a film. So, it was what people asked for, but it was
Kind
not
of
like
So,
we
so
were asking
it,
for
it was kind of a
quality
joke.
product.
It makes sense why it's such a joke of a film, because it was a joke at its core.
Yeah, it was
Yes, just-
completely a joke.
I don't
Yeah,
know if
ju-
he'll finish it because like Tusk was supposed to be part of like this creature feature trilogy he was gonna do.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was that one in Yoga.
Like there was what
It
about
was-
the third film was gonna be?
When
It was
Doc
gonna be
Boo-
called Moose Jowls.
What?
And it was gonna be about a killer moose in Canada.
I'd watch
I
that.
wanted to see that film more than any of these other films. So one day,
Yeah.
hopefully, he makes it.
Guys, let's go. Do you have a Patreon for that, Mark? The Moose movie?
Should set one up. I'd totally
We
see
should.
Moose Jowls.
But like, how would he film it though? Like, would it be from the perspective of the moose, or would he be being stalked by the moose?
Both. He'll be like an '80s thriller movie, like those really bad campy movies. And it'll like every now and then it'll show like the perspective of the moose, and like it's all like red on the sides, with like blood dripping down,
Say blood,
like
like
charges
Lines.
towards the person. Yeah, exactly. And then like a teenage girl turn around and be like, ah.
Well, actually, it's going to be like Hoodwinked, but there'll be two different films. One from the moose's perspective, and we really feel for the moose in this film.
Yeah.
And then in the
He's
other
a
one, it's from the
misunderstood moose,
stalk. Right. So obviously, the person being stalked film will be first, because then we'll fear the moose. Then we're going to understand why the moose was stalking him. It's not because he's a bloodthirsty monster. He just needs friends.
Yeah, he's a lonely old moose. There's not many people that go in there. Well,
He's a good
maybe it's
moose.
because he kills them all, but still.
Nemo, you
He-
can't judge a moose by its hoof, man. You just can't.
Well, when the hoof has the blood of my brothers and sisters, it's kind of hard to not judge.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
Okay, but
Well,
what about if the blood is on the antlers?
that's a different story, man.
That's. I mean, I can redeem that. That's okay. That's forgivable.
All right, that works.
Roman, anything else you want to say about Kevin Smith before we move on to Milkman?
No, I think I got a good amount of things for today.
All right, everybody. Well, if you haven't seen Clerks, go watch it, or any Kevin Smith film. Roman highly recommends it.
Not tusks.
Yeah, not Tusk.
All right. Moving on to Milkman. Milkman, my man, what's your favorite
Yeah.
movie?
I mean, another Tom Hanks film that I'd like is Forrest Gump.
Mm.
No.
So, what makes you what makes you your favorite film? What like specific scenes? Maybe is there a good scene you like about it, or is there something I don't know, like the chocolate scene? Life is like a box of chocolates, or what brings your attention to it?
I mean, I like the shrimp boat scene a lot. I liked it when he was catching the shrimps.
What was his name? The guy he was with who got his like leg amputated in Vietnam.
And Dan.
Yeah. What's
Oh,
his
yeah.
name?
Lieutenant Dan.
I just
My
found
favorite
it
part of
so-
that movie is how they made an entire food chain out of it, and the food chain's actually pretty good.
Oh, the Bubba Gump.
Yeah,
shrimp,
Bubba
right?
Gump. Yeah, Bubba Gump.
want some shrimp.
Iconic moments from that. Well, so many like quotable moments too. I think probably my favorite scene from that film was when I think it's like the night that like after they're like Forrest has spent so much time away from Jenny, they finally reconnect, and Forrest is like gonna say like, well, I'm here for you, and Jenny just kind of pushes him away, and he's like, look, I may be stupid, but I know what love is. And there's just something about that where it's like he's still devoted to her, but like he's frustrated, and it's just like there's just a little bit of aggravation within him there that you can see, which only comes out in like bits and pieces throughout his story, which I kind of thought it was great that that was the boiling point.
I think one of the saddest scenes I think is when his buddy died in Vietnam, Bubba. He's rescuing everybody else from not the rice fields, like the jungle. And he gets everybody, and he also gets Dan, even though he'd rather die on the battlefield, which very, very interesting choice for him. But it's just sad to see Bubba die like that. You're rooting for him to come out, and everyone else is getting out of there, right? Forrest is saving them, and then he didn't make it in the end.
But I think that kind of speaks the most volumes is that Forrest kind of remains this Forrest devoted to people. Like he's devoted to Jenny the whole time. And here he is devoted to Lieutenant Dan, who both before and after he loses his legs, like he just wants no part of Forrest. And Forrest is just entirely devoted to him. He brings him in on his business, and he's just like, doesn't matter. I'm sticking with you because we stick together. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the film. Okay, so the hot take. I didn't actually enjoy the film too much. I actually fell asleep the first 3 times while trying to watch it. I can respect the marvel that it did and like how it enhanced. Like, there are scenes in there that are revolutionary to like editing. When he is sitting on the ground and he moves his feet across the stool, and somehow he did that even though there's no shadow. Like it's crazy that they were able to do that. And there's a lot of screenwriting in this that also seemed very on point. I just could never get into it. I'm not saying it's any less of a good movie. It just wasn't a movie that I particularly enjoyed.
Well, the other thing we got to mention too is the visual effects in that film.
Yeah, that's what I was meaning when I said editing and all that.
Yeah, I mean we kind of expect that because it's from like Robert Zemeckis, who's done stuff like Back to the Future, and he does like I think probably like his biggest trick with a lot of this is like he inserts Forrest into archival footage, which it's not. You look at it now in HD and it doesn't look that great. Like you can kind of see the seams, but he got pretty close for the era to like insert him next to like JFK and John Lennon.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of interesting though because like after that, the first thing he did after that was took all these techniques to make an episode of Tales from the Crypt, in which he wanted to film an episode where it would be a first person perspective, but he was going to make the first person be what's his name, Humphrey Bogart. So like anytime you looked in like the mirror or something, we'd see Humphrey Bogart reacting with everyone based on like the digital placement footage that he had been working on with Forrest Gump.
So I should go get a green screen and make Forrest Gump 2.
Totally do it now.
You want to crowdfund it?
Yeah, crowdfund my Forrest Gump 2. I'll finally adapt the scene from the book where he went to space.
Oh, it was a book.
Yeah, it's actually based on a book. I'm not shocked. It got really overshadowed by the movie because the book was not as grounded as the film.
It's not good.
To space. The book's not
very
good.
No, it's one of those few films where it's like, yeah, the book is not better than the film.
I think the movie definitely did a better job of portraying a mentally handicapped person than the book. I can't point to anything because it's been a while since I read the book.
Mm-hmm.
But I do remember I thought at the end, wow, Forrest seems kind of off here.
Yeah. I'm looking it up, and Forrest Gump 2 is actually scripted, and they had everything set up. They just never went to production.
Well,
Yeah, like everything was set up for it. They just never committed to it.
I mean, shit happens, right?
Yeah, I know.
Well, Zemeckis is always busy with something, so.
Mhm.
get in that chair, Lieutenant Dan, because I'm coming on out.
Apparently, he
What-
actually wrote the script in 1995, and it's been sitting in production for, well, years.
And so.
It's a
That's
long
quite
time.
the amount of time.
Wanted to move on that fast.
Oh, it was going to be called Gump and Co.
Yeah, Gump and Co. That's what I'm reading too. Winston
That
Groom.
is
Man,
quite the title.
I don't know. I feel like Forrest Gump 2 would have been good enough. Didn't have to go to Gump and Co. But
Forrest Gump, the Gumpening.
The company.
the company.
Forrest Gump, Return of Bubba.
Someone needs to Photoshop Bubba on
No.
Boba Fett. Boba Fett.
Bubba Fett. It's a Star Wars crossover for the movie.
It's where Bubba Gump becomes a Mandalorian.
Yeah, I love Forrest Gump. Oh, I completely forgot. My favorite scene is the one where there's only one line of dialogue from Forrest, which is where he accompanies Jenny to her old home, and she's just chucking rocks at her house because she hated her dad for what she did to her. And he just sits there with her and says nothing. And then we hear that narration saying, "Sometimes there just aren't enough rocks." It's like that's like one of the most perfect scenes.
That's a good one. It really is. Roman, anything you want to say?
I think it's a piece of crap movie. Any
Whoa,
film
whoa, whoa,
expert is
whoa,
an
hey.
idiot.
Oh.
No, I love it.
He's heating up, everybody.
I feel like we're all being positive, so I'm putting in that antagonist here.
And I'm gonna also side with the antagonist. I'm not really, but it's I can respect it as a film, and I understand the qualities and the revolutions it had within the film industry. Just wasn't my cup of tea. I didn't personally enjoy the movie.
That hack Zemeckis.
I like
Back
it
to the
overall.
future. Go back to film school.
I like it overall, but I think Jenny rubs me the wrong way at times, and I'll just leave it at that. Milkman, good suggestion, man. Moving on to Mark. Mark, what's one of your favorite movies, man?
This is such a tough one. Like here's the thing.
Definitely is.
I got like a kind of like a tie here, and it's only because I'm only doing a tie here because like I guarantee no one has seen this film that I'm gonna mention. The first one that I want to mention is I mentioned this as my favorite because it's a personal favorite. Is it's a film from Jacques Tati called Playtime.
Yeah, I have no
this-
idea.
It's a French film from the 60s. And it's essentially it's part of the Mr. Hulot series, which essentially it's kind of like a color version of Charlie Chaplin. And it's basically about this French guy who wanders around Paris and just gets into all kinds of crazy adventures. And like sometimes we lose sight of him, sometimes we veer off and follow other people. And we just follow a whole bunch of characters. We follow like tourists, we follow snooty guests, we follow chefs, and it all culminates at a restaurant where everything just crumbles around them, but everyone still has a good time. And the reason that I like that film the most is because I watched it when I was living in the city, and I was very, very depressed. And then I watched this film here where a city feels alive, and there's all kinds of fun and crazy stuff going on, and you kind of feel like a fly on the wall there, and you get to just share in it. But that's like a bit of a harder one to talk about. So my second one is
Wait,
it's Fargo.
Quick question though for the French movie. Is that like did you see it with like subtitles in English, or do you like speak French at all? Like, could you understand it in French, or?
There were subtitles on it, but the interesting thing is like with Playtime and from a lot of like Jacques Tati's other films with this character Mr. Hulot is like they're all in French, but there's very little dialogue. There's some dialogue here and there, but they're almost like silent films. Like most of the dialogue is just kind of like tertiary to get you from here to there, and it's mostly just action. So you could watch it without any subtitles and would totally understand it.
All right.
So this was during the sound era.
It was during the sound era. They make great use of sound. I just attribute it to kind of like a like Charlie Chaplin, because Mr. Hulot is all about his iconography and actions.
Right, I get that. I'm just trying to think like what kind of film making skills these people would have had, so I can get your picture.
Yeah, like playtime is like it was like super elaborate. There are several scenes where he'll just like pull out and have like 6 or 7 things going on in one shot, and you're not sure who to follow because the camera could follow anyone at any time. And what's interesting too is like it's all by design too, because like Jacques Tati spent a lot of money building essentially almost like entire houses and buildings to make the Paris that he wanted. Like you talked about, like Kevin Smith spent all his money trying to make his film. Jacques Tati spent a whole bunch of his money and borrowed everyone else's money to basically make a version of Paris that he dubbed Tativille, because like it was so massive that he had basically just like called it an entire city at one point. It's like his biggest masterpiece.
Did he call it that, or did like his friends call it that? Because that decides where his head was.
I think he called it that.
Okay.
I think it was either him or like someone on cast, but like it eventually just got called Tativille because of how sprawling it was. Yeah, a film that I think more people have seen would be like Fargo, so that's why I go with Fargo. Fargo is like it's one of those films that as a Minnesotan, I really like that, because like watching Fargo as a Minnesotan is like
the word Minnesotan again.
Sultan.
All right, thanks.
That's close.
I can die young and I'll be happy.
Like watching Fargo as a Minnesotan is basically like watching, if you're a Texan watching King of the Hill, because like Fargo exaggerates like a lot of the accents and mannerisms of the whole Minnesota nice angle. And as a Minnesotan, you want to say like, no, that's not true. We don't do that. But then every now and then there'll be a scene and you'll be like, God damn it. That, don't we?
I live that every day. It's tough, man. It's tough, but it's funny.
I do gotta say, as a Texan, when I watch King of the Hill, I do think, wow. There's actually one. Okay, so I was at my grandfather's, right? Just real fast. And this dude came up. I did not understand a fucking word he said. He sounded just like Boomhauer.
Really?
And I was like, whoa. He was like,
Boomhauer IRL.
yeah, and he was saying something about boats, but I didn't get the rest of it.
Go down there, get on boat, fast, vroom, vroom, boom, boom, down,
Yeah,
down pier.
That was it. And he came in this like most badass motorcycle.
Dude, that's awesome.
Oh, it has
about Fargo.
That's awesome.
It has Steve Buscemi and William H. Macy. Yeah, some pretty big people in there.
It has a pretty damn good ensemble for the time. I really like how like the film, like it's about a crime that is very shocking and brutal, and at the same time it's hilarious without trying for jokes, just because like the characters seem so genuine. Like they never try too hard for like jokes with the character of Marge, who's trying to investigate. Like she's trying to be as nice as she can while investigating these murders and embezzlement of money. And there's just something about how sweet she is, even though she's determined, that you just pull for her, because she's just such a sweet woman trying to stop these people who are putting bodies into wood chippers.
That's such a weird. I mean, but it works. It works. So
it so works. There's like weird scenes that hover between like, dark drama and just surreal comedy that are just so perfect. Like I love every scene where Marge goes into Minneapolis and she meets up with like an old friend who's basically, he's divorced, but he hasn't bothered to tell anyone that he's divorced. He's basically trying to come on to Marge in like the most like in kind of like a semi-quiet but also really creepy way, where he's just kind of like, oh, maybe I'll sit next to you, maybe I'll do that, and she's like, oh, maybe you won't, maybe you don't do that.
Another question: does your mom sound like that?
We all sound like that.
All
Yeah,
right.
this is, you know how like British actors don't sound British when they're acting? Yeah, we're doing that right now.
Of course.
I just don't know how to respond to it, so I'm just making noises.
It's gonna be the new response on here for the film podcast. Just whenever you don't vibe with something, just.
So I really love the Fargo TV series. It's actually held up pretty damn well. Specifically because like the Fargo TV series like goes off in like anthology mode, and there are like bits and pieces that relate back to the film, but it feels like its own story. Like I love how they bring to a head the what happened with like the briefcase of money that Steve Buscemi buried in just a snowfield and completely forgot about it. They address what happened to that in the show, which I kind of loved. Although as a great companion piece to the Fargo film, there's a great kind of Japanese English film called Kumiko the Treasure Hunter, which the premise of the film is literally this Japanese woman who has a VHS tape of Fargo and thinks that case of money is still in Minnesota, like it's real. Because that's the thing, like Fargo, they set it up by saying, oh, this is based on a true story, except all the names have been changed, except they just put that in there as a joke. So she thinks it's real and that there's a real case of money just sitting somewhere in Minnesota, and she's like studies this VHS tape and eventually travels to Minnesota to try to find it.
Oh, that's so meta. That's great.
It's weird too because it's also based on a urban legend in Minnesota, because like there was a Japanese woman who went off into the snowy wilderness and died, and there was like this rumor that she went out there to find that case for some reason. Like it's untrue, but someone thought, hey, that could be an interesting story.
Now that I know that's Asian and she went out and died, I can't help but just think of The Grudge. I don't know. Just every time there's a dead Asian woman in like a creepypasta or something, I always think Grudge for some reason.
Every time there's a dead Asian woman in my basement, I just think about it.
Yeah, I know. It's just like just put the well cover on it, okay? I don't want to look at it.
Got a bunch
It's
of
weird.
serial
It's
killers
like
up
moaning.
on this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Talking about
Listen.
dead bodies everywhere.
No, they're not dead. They're clearly not dead. They're moaning with white hair and like pale. It's weird.
I think I agree with you, Nemo. Like I think of something like The Grudge, some like Asian myth or something along those lines. Those like scary, spooky stories that each part of the world has. Like like if you go out at night, like so and so is gonna happen to you because like boogeyman.
I feel
or whatever.
I feel like Oriental legends are like the scariest for some reason. Like we have like Norse legends that are like, oh, you go outside at night and the boogeyman will get you. And then like over there, it's like, oh yeah, no, you don't brush your teeth for 3 days in a row, your entire family will die and rot, and then you'll just go crazy and just go insane, and like you'll slowly pick your nails out and pull your hair out, and then you'll bleed through your eyeballs until you just suffocate. It's like, okay, that's nice to know.
Well, I don't have to brush my teeth, so eat me.
But I think I have a pretty good contender for best movie. And it's called. You guys ever watch Baby Geniuses? Some throwaway movie from 1999.
Wait, hold on. This sounds familiar. Give me a second.
Was that the genius with the baby?
Yes, it was the Baby Genius that like had like a bunch of spy. It like made a bunch of offsprings of like spy movies. Just
okay, before we get into actual
years ago, dude.
Yeah, it was 1998, 99. It was somewhere in that time frame.
Baby Genius.
Oh wait, that was directed by Bob Clark.
It also starred Christopher Lloyd. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of that guy.
There was a scene pretty early in that film. So the baby was supposed to be dancing, putting on clothes, but it's very obvious that they got a midget and just pasted a baby face on the front of him.
Oh, that's half the movie. It's that or bad CGI, like really bad CGI. Like they didn't even try and polish it. It was just like straight rubber moving around.
Anyone in this podcast right now could probably do better.
Yeah. I mean, using MS Paint, you could probably do better.
Yeah.
Strange.
was-
It's directed by Bob Clark, the guy who has directed the most heartwarming Christmas movie and the most bloodiest Christmas movie. I don't know Bob Clark.
No, not by name at
Directed-
least.
He directed A Christmas Story,
Okay.
the heartwarming story about a kid getting a gun for Christmas,
Mhm.
Aw.
and
Oh,
then he
he also
directed-
directed Black Christmas. Oh.
yeah,
Oh, boy.
Black Christmas.
Black-
Oh my.
Christmas.
Okay. Jesus Christ. That's quite a jump you did there,
Black
buddy. Over
Christmas.
the course of
Let's see.
9 years.
Oh,
Be
wow.
geniuses.
He went over the course of 9 years. He went from like terrifying movie to like, oh, what happens when you're on Christmas and you give a kid a gun? I don't know. Let's see.
Can you-
Or what happens when the devil visits you on Christmas?
I completely forgot. He also directed
I
Porky's.
Oh
haven't
my
watched
God.
that.
So right around that time, it's Porky's.
Oh,
Dude,
Porky's was dead in the middle too. God.
Dude.
Bob Clark's all over the map,
Oh
man.
my
He's
It's so
I
mean.
find it more funny that you're busting out laughing, and that is like the end of the thought.
You had to be there to see it, man. It was just, oh my. Alexis, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're listening to this. I'm sorry, man.
Making amends.
Making amends.
I'm not sorry.
I think Porky's had a really shitty Atari video game, Mark.
that it did.
Yeah.
I guess I would. I guess I would say like the Porky guy in the film wasn't actually that fat, but it turns out he's the fattest person in the film. So the guy who runs the Porky's place, basically this fat boss hog guy.
Baby
Yeah.
Geniuses, the
Baby
best movie
Geniuses,
of the
right.
90s and early 2000s. Because I mean, it went. I think the last movie that they released of Baby Geniuses was like 2016, 2015.
You
You're
know
shitting
what
me.
other franchise had a bunch of like throwaway movies, like straight to direct to DVD after like the fifth one?
Fill me in.
Do you guys remember those Airbud movies?
Oh,
Oh yeah, the Airbud saga.
sadly,
The Airbud saga.
I did not
There's
enjoy
tons
this.
of them.
Like how many are there? Like 12 around there? Like they go to
There's a lot of
space,
them.
They go to like
You
Yeah.
have to-
Are we counting
They
Airbud?
always made me uncomfortable. Like the whole time I'm sitting there, like, please stop moving your mouth. I don't like it. It's bad. It
That
made me feel weird.
depends where if you count the buddies, the smaller
Oh, yeah.
pups, a part of the
yeah.
You know,
universe.
Airbud fandom. If you get Disney Plus right now, you can watch the entire series back to back.
it's
Hmm.
like, it's like fucking
I feel like that's
friends.
like the Airbuds and the Buddies. Those are the movies that when we were little, we're like, oh man, that's so cool. And then like looking back on it, it's like, wow, that
Those-
wasn't really that good.
It's like
Thank-
oh, he plays basketball now. Oh, he plays soccer
Oh.
now. Oh, that not enough for you? He plays
Mhm.
football now. American
In
football.
Which one? In the basketball one, when the dog jumps, it looks like he's flying because they make it in slow mo. So it just looks like he's like flying across. Like they cut him out of like a video and just like photoshopped him and just like dragged him across the screen. It was surreal.
They all like goofy names too. Like I think the soccer one was called World Pup.
So real fast, I want to go over how Wikipedia describes the main five because this is just something. Okay, well actually I'll skip the first one. So Airbud Golden Receiver. Josh's Golden Retriever learns to play American football. Now, Airbud 3, World Pup, Josh discovers that Buddy's ball playing skills apply to soccer.
Ooh.
Airbud 4, 7th inning fetch. Buddy makes the baseball team and becomes a star player. Airbud spikes back. Buddy tackles volleyball. Those are all very riveting descriptions. I think we all agree.
Really want to revive this saga. They know what they have to do. Airbud Rugby,
Ooh.
rated R.
It's like the dog
Rated
race.
R. Ooh, what's going on there? It's like lacrosse, just like beating people with sticks.
Airbud boxer. You just see him
Like
get
all these like
Yeah, it's just the
dog
Airbud
movies.
against a boxer in a
See,
boxing ring.
actually, Creed 3 is actually another Airbud film.
Creed 3, he's going up against like a roided up Airbud dog.
There's
And,
nothing
like-
in the rule book that says.
Like, you hear
It's
Stallone
technically
in the
all Lego.
background. He's like, he might be quicker than you, but he doesn't have as much heart as you. Go get him.
Mhm.
See, the big twist is when Sylvester Stallone takes Airbud's side.
Oh, dude.
Oh,
He starts training Airbud because like he's getting tired of Creed.
It's like, Creed, I know you can do better. That's why I'm gonna train him.
God.
Dude, and then like, Ivan Drago starts training Creed.
Yeah.
Total role reversal.
I found it
Yeah.
really weird how older movies were like Russia bad, English good, Russia bad.
I
I mean, that's just anything during the Cold War.
Yeah.
But, well, yeah, that's like 1980s sentiment all over because it's just like everyone was obsessing over like the Cold War, so everything was, you know, Russians were coming to get us, or we're all gonna die of nukes.
Hmm.
Crap,
Like that
what's
was
a
pretty much the
Russian-
majority of stories during that time.
It was a
Yeah.
genuine concern, you know. People were afraid.
Oh, I
Right,
mean, we have Iran crisis, and I don't see many films being like Iran bad, English good.
well, it's a
But,
bit
like-
different now because we
Yeah.
know that is how we get bombed.
If we produce those films, then we're more likely to die. It's a self-fulfilling
Oh.
prophecy.
It's like what
We
happened with,
still kind of make those films to some degree.
Not to the same degree. Like I understand there's still
their budget is
films.
significantly lower. I don't know.
There was, I don't know.
They're
Did you
not
remember?
they don't propagandize them as heavily.
Well, the thing is that like, when you're
uh,
making like a military movie, usually the studio doesn't have like a bunch of tanks on hand or like B-52 bombers. You go to the military for that. But once you get the military involved for your movies, they gotta sign off on the whole script and everything. 'Cause
Yeah.
you can't paint the U.S. Army in a bad light. You know, when it comes to
Yeah.
there's a whole.
That's why like
process.
they're pretty much like close on that degree to like being propaganda because they got to be
Yeah.
approved by the military.
Yeah, I
So-
mean, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying like the degree in which they are seems a lot less than they were back then. Because before it seemed like a lot more robotic, and now it seems a lot more manipulative rather than just like straight to the point. Like now they're trying to convince you to the fact of it rather than just stating that it is a fact.
Well, some, yeah, but there was still like a bit of manipulation back. Like Red
Mhm.
Heat is like straight up, like not Red Heat, Red
Dawn?
Dawn. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's just
yeah.
like that is straight up like nationalist propaganda.
Yeah. And then we had the remake of Korea and Russia bad again.
I was thinking like the one that's probably the most propagandic is the Fallen series.
Mhm.
So like London Has Fallen and Angel Has Fallen. Like London Has Fallen, like pretty much is that propagandic type of like Middle Eastern one.
I didn't look at it as like honestly I looked at it as like a turn your mind off type movie. Like you just don't think about it, and it's just like an action packed movie.
Wasn't that like Fallen film like coming around the same time like Olympus Is Down or something? Like they're both about the White
Yeah.
House being bombed. And
Yeah.
it came out like at the
Yeah.
exact same time. I'm like,
Well, the series is literally just about foreign powers attacking. So yeah, it's pretty much on
Yeah.
that level. Like yeah, the first one was just Koreans attack the White House, and then London Has Fallen was just like all of London is attacked by Middle Eastern terrorists. Which I think like London Has Fallen is very clear that I think there's a line in there that says like what's it, like go back to whatever Fuckistan or whatever. There's some stupid line like that.
I mean, I didn't watch London Has Fallen, but just those movies, I don't know, they seem so surreal, I guess, that I just turn my brain off when I watch them, because there's like, if I don't turn my brain off, there's gonna be so many things I'm like, what the hell is going on there? Like, why is that happening? Like, that's not how physics works. Because like I know I tried that with another one that starred a different actor. It was the guy that played in 21 Jump Street. He was another one that came out around the same time. And I watch that, and I just constantly like I wanted to enjoy it, but it's just like, why is this happening? This does not make sense. And I was just seeing all the flaws with it. So when I watch those, it's kind of just like turn your brain off, just enjoy the action-packed ride.
Here's the thing: propaganda films can be good because technically Casablanca is a propaganda film,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that one's
White House Down, that's what it was.
Yeah, White House Down, Olympus Falls.
That was down.
It's like, what the hell's going on there? That like a studio exec from the other side see the script and like, hey, I can do this, but cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Adrenaline double feature. They missed a golden opportunity here. It's on the same disc. Call it the White House series. Come on.
or make it a double feature with The Interview.
All right, I could do.
Yeah. Those are both very lazy arts. I just want to say that right now.
Yeah.
Actually,
So,
all of those are pretty lazy. Now I'm looking at them. Very flashy design, but there's like it's not saying anything at all. Just like, that's the name and that's the characters. It takes place in the White House, and then that's the characters. There's White House behind them, and then that's the flag. Those are the characters.
You know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie company named The Asylum by any chance.
That's familiar.
Mark, that ring any bells?
yeah, Asylum's the knockoff studio.
Yeah.
If there's a big film coming out, they'll whip up a direct-to-video. The film that everyone will confuse it with it.
Yeah.
I actually worked in a video store when that happened. That like Transformers had come out, and we got a film called Transmorphers, which everyone returned, not just because it was bad, but because I believe the DVD is desynced. So like the audio doesn't sync up with the video, so everyone came back saying that the DVD is like effed.
It's just bad.
Oh my god. Avengers Grimm, Time Wars, Atlantic Rim, Titanic 2. I didn't know you could make a sequel to Titanic.
I'm surprised
Transmorphers.
The Asylum doesn't have like a rip-off movie of like a White House being blown up or something, you know? Like,
Wait. 2012 Ice Age. Jesus, you weren't even trying with that one. Here, I'll check for one. They might have one. Who knows?
Oh, they've got Hornet instead of Bumblebee.
Battle of Los Angeles.
Tomb Invader. Sinister Minister.
They have a
Ooh.
Hasbro sponsored American Warships. I'm sad.
A Suicide Squad one called like Sinister Squad or something stupid like that.
Well, going off of when we mentioned Fargo, they have Cargo.
Hold on, didn't they make Sharknado? Why do they have a ripoff of Sharknado called Mega Shark?
They want to double down.
wait.
They ripped off their own film of Sharknado.
I thought the Sci-Fi Channel makes Sharknado. Or
Hmm.
did they like contract that out to Asylum, or did Asylum make Sharknado?
Oh, here's Sharknado 3 on the Asylum's website.
Oh, then they made it then.
Yeah.
Here's Sharknado.
Yeah, Sharknado 5. Yeah, all the Sharknados are on what.
Dude, I want to watch
Sharknado: The Last Stand. It's about time. God. But yeah, no, they ripped off their own movie with
Mega Shark.
Mega Shark. Yeah.
Well, here's what might be the best one. It's called The Co-Ed and the Zombie Stoner.
Where is this?
Sounds like
I need to watch
2000s
this.
film.
Wait,
Sex,
Snakes on Trains.
Drugs,
They made Snakes
and
on
The Walking
Trains.
Dead. Snakes
Sorry,
on
all these
Trains,
motherfuckers.
really?
All these snakes on
Snakes on a train?
plane. Yeah, and rather than snakes on a plane, it's snakes on a train.
You know, I think one of the reasons why they made that movie was the investors, I think, were Japanese, right? And I'm gonna share an image with you guys right now so you guys can see what I'm talking about on the chat. You guys see the image?
I remember that cover on the
Yes.
on the shelf. Yeah.
So apparently they used that as part of their pitch for the movie to the Japanese investors, but that was never going to happen in the movie. That was never a central part of the plot or anything like that. So,
Mhm.
Oh yeah. This is like a very common technique too. Like Roger Corman used to do this. He would not make a film, he'd just make a poster and just like slap it in a theater and see if anyone was like interested in it. And then if they're like, oh, hey, I'd like to look at that. It's like, oh, okay, well, try to make that movie somehow.
Mhm.
Yeah, like they ended up giving them the money, but like on the condition that they just remake a whole scene just for that scene, and I'm just like, they got it done, I guess.
They're pretty much sold that way. I, no joke, actually worked on I actually worked on the visual effects for a film where they already had the poster done. And they're just like, can you make it look like the poster? It's like, I maybe. When do you need this?
A
two
lot of
months?
films do that. Yeah, a lot of films do that.
Yeah.
They have these concept arts that they release to the public, and then now they have this standard to reach that they like. Sometimes they have like an artist that's really really good at their job, but the people who do the CGI, they're just not on par, and there's a clear difference in quality between the concept art and what was released to the public, and then the finished product.
Well, because obviously to do one poster is so much easier than the whole film.
Yeah, every frame for thousands and thousands and thousands. Yeah. I digress. The co-ed and the zombie stoner.
Find that film.
The co-ed and the zombie stoner. Sex, drugs, and The Walking Dead. From the dudes who brought you Sharknado. Why is his eyes blue?
That's probably something the Japanese investors wanted. I don't know, dude.
It's like in the movie Dune when they ingest the spice.
I do think they have a Dune parody, by the way.
Is it like Tomb?
No, it looked like
Dumb.
the Dune cover, but it was actually a totally different title.
Dom.
Yeah, just Dom, just D-O-M.
Yeah, just Dom.
Oh,
Here, I'm looking up Dune ripoffs.
Oh man, they gotta make a sequel for the new film coming out on Christmas.
Asylum. You know what to do.
They know what to do.
Dude, I wonder how much like payment goes around in that place, like, because obviously you're not gonna make big bank when it comes to selling these films, because it ain't the original film by all means,
I guess it depends how much depending on who they sell it towards. If they can sell it for syndication or just, like packing fluff for streaming services or stuff like that.
Like,
all depends on where you shop it around.
Yeah.
Wait, they're making a new Doom movie? They made a new Doom movie.
Oh yeah,
I didn't hear about this. Like, it was one of those
like reason.
Well, doesn't it have like 2 chicks instead of a Doom guy?
No, but Doom Guy is the Doom guy. You can't get rid of the Doom guy. It's not Doom. It's just demons.
Hey, Mark. Did you ever get that effect thing done where you were telling us about how they had the poster and they're like, "Can you make it look like that?"
Yeah. I somehow was able to like finish this. It was for like a kung fu film, and they wanted to have dragons in it, and I somehow I got it close enough. But like it was such a nightmare because like the director said like, oh, like we want to look like the dragons like in the poster. It's like, okay, well, how do you want this shot? And he's like, oh, it's all HD. And then I gave him the footage like, okay, here's the HD transfer so you can like put it over the live action. I get to the actual premiere and I think it was shot by like 4:3 or something like that, and the frame rate wasn't matching. So it's just like, oh god, nothing is syncing up here. It was the most nightmarish 2 months of my life because I was also working on a pilot film during that time too. It was just like, oh god.
I mean, you tried, so.
I mean, I tried for like, he wanted this done in like 2 months, and it's just like me and my rinky-dink computer rendering out these graphics. So,
I mean, that's not really your fault. That's the fault of the final editor that decided to compile it all together.
I mean, I give him the footage and whatever he does with it,
Now,
Yeah.
would you happen to remember the name of said movie?
Oh, it was called like it had a really stupid title. It was like In 3 Dragon. I don't know if it had like a DVD release. I think he just sold it in China. I'm not even sure if I went to like a kind of like family and friends type screening he did in the cities, but I never saw it again after that point.
There's nothing on Google.
Yeah, either he tried to sell it somewhere in China or it just disappeared off the face of the earth.
I hate to say it because I don't want to generalize kung fu films, but it sounds like it might have something to do with Bruce Lee. Like, there's a lot of Bruce Lee exploitation films like Enter the Dragon 2, The Return of the Dragon, blah, blah, blah. And whenever I hear...
It thankfully wasn't that. It was just a cheap, like hero
okay.
turns into a dragon and
that's
gets the girl.
Because I thought it was going to be like something along
Honestly,
those lines.
it's cheap, but I gotta admit,
wait. What year was it that you did this?
2010. When I finished it.
Okay, I'm going deep.
You found it?
Going deep.
But I have no idea where this film ended up.
Probably like on a Chinese streaming service, maybe, or direct to TV in China.
Probably. The last I talked with the director, I think he was trying to sell it to
Oh God, I don't think it's this movie. This movie looks terrible. It's not this movie. It can't be this movie. I'm leaving this movie.
It's time to go. Time to go on the Film Domain forums and ask.
It was. There's a movie called Journey China 3 Dragons.
Oh no! Wait, I did find it. It's in 3 Dragon, but it's like 3 eyes instead of the number 3.
Okay, good. Because if it was this movie, I would be very sad. That
3 eyes.
Oh, I see it. And it looks like an ill dragon.
In
Millions of years ago, 2 men had discovered 3 distinctive hearts of dragons. Mario, unbeknownst to him, that he possesses the dragon's heart. In these streets allows, Mario finds more trouble. See more on IMDb. Okay. JJ Stomp did everything. To the IMDb or to a torrent?
To the IMDb, not the torrent.
Okay. Actually, it's not a torrent. You can straight download the film from a Chinese website. Okay.
I don't know how I trust that connection, but.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna quickly turn on my what's it called?
VPN 2010.
Honestly, his fight scenes were not too bad. It should have been better shot.
Big Boss.
Wait, Nemo, where'd you post it, man?
Domain Legion.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's actually on YouTube.
No way.
Oh, it's the ratio. No,
that's
no.
Don't worry, guys. I can stretch it in Sony Vegas.
Oof.
No.
It's all good.
It's closer to like when you film a vertical phone than I was expecting.
Whoa. Really?
Yeah.
Who keeps spamming this waifu stuff? Please stop.
I don't even know who Bob is.
Me neither. I'm trying to watch this film Mark worked on, and I'm getting spammed by waifu stuff, ladies and gentlemen.
Alright. Well.
We've done Mark. We've done Milkman. We've done Roman. We've done Nemo. We haven't done.
What about you?
You guys want
our host?
What's one of my favorite movies?
Sharknado. I'll let you finish.
It's a close 5th, so good job.
The co-ed in the Zombie Stoner clearly beats it.
I mean, the art direction is better, but I don't think it compares to Sharknado 7.
I didn't know there was more than 5.
No, but in all
and
seriousness,
it's sad because before that I didn't know there was more than 1.
In all seriousness, though, I think one of my favorite movies of all time. I have a spot for like those martial arts type of movies, kind of like action, kind of focused. It's an oldie. It is Bloodsport with Jean-Claude Van Damme. I don't know if any of you have heard about it or seen it in that regard. Anybody?
Actually,
maybe my favorite Jean-Claude one. Yeah.
Oh, actually, I think I have the VH.
So basically, if you haven't seen Bloodsport, this guy named Frank Dukes, which I will explain in later detail, kind of a sketchy, fraudish character, and this whole story is probably 100% BS. He goes into this underground fighting championship in Hong Kong called the Kumite, where a bunch of fighters from across the world participate in a, elimination style bracket fight championship, martial artists going at it. Frank goes over there without the permission of the government because he's like an army guy, and that's kind of a whole little subplot that really doesn't really matter to the story. And he makes friends with another American there. They kick some butt. The other guy gets slaughtered by the main villain guy, Bolo Young, he's a great martial artist in his own right. He's done other stuff also. And then it's at the very end, it's him against Frank, and they both beat the crap out of each other. And Jean-Claude Van Damme does some questionable flexing and screaming into the camera, which probably wasn't needed, but I like the movie a lot because I like the martial arts stuff in it. Was there some bullshito in it? Probably there is. I mean, Frank is a questionable guy, questionable character. I really like the soundtrack by Paul Herzog. I don't know if you've heard some of his stuff, but he did the whole music for Bloodsport, like his style. It feels like you're in the movie, like you're about to kick ass. You're motivated to do anything. It's like you can achieve anything. It's like you can do a spinning roundhouse kick or whatever as soon as you listen to that. So awesome music on his part. Directed by Newt Arnold. I'm on IMDb right now. Apparently, he also worked on Blade Runner and The Abyss.
Oh.
So there's that.
Have you seen the parody of Bloodsport and
Martial Science. You talking about that one?
Hot Shots Part 2?
Hot Shots Part. No, I haven't.
There's a great scene in Hot Shots Part 2 where they basically parody that scene where they do have to get involved with like a sport, except they make it ridiculous. Like at one point, in order to make their fists more powerful, they dip them in glue and then dip them in nails.
Oh, I see the clip you're talking about now. You know,
there's like the great scene where he shoves his knee into his groin and out of his mouth pops walnuts.
Jesus.
It's hilarious.
Charlie Sheen, wow. Back when he was making movies.
I love it. Yeah, like Hot Shots started off as like a parody of Top Gun, and then Part 2 is basically a parody of Rambo with like Bloodsport and other films in there.
You know, I actually think that scene you're talking about isn't a call out to Bloodsport, but it's a call back to Kickboxer, another film.
Oh, shoot, you're right. Yeah, Kickboxer.
Yeah, another Jean-Claude Van Damme film. I think he did it after Bloodsport. And
yeah,
you know, funny enough, when he was filming not Bloodsport, Kickboxer, he got a call from one of his friends who was working on the Bloodsport film, and they had a final cut ready, and apparently he told Jean-Claude, he's like, hey, you got to come back here to Hong Kong and recut the film. He's like, why? He's like, because it looks like absolute garbage. And apparently the final cut was terrible, like not good at all. And Jean-Claude had to like recut it. And now we got the Bloodsport we see today. I don't know if you can find the original Bloodsport cut out in the wild. I mean, probably in someone's basement by now, but it could be out there. I just like the movie. Lots of fighting in it. Cheesy acting, obviously. And Jean-Claude Van Damme. He's been in like
Street Fighter.
Oh, yeah, he did that too.
I just thought of it because I've been playing it a lot today. The game, not the
movie.
Not watching the movie.
I'm like, hey,
I assumed it was not the movie. I don't know how to play that.
No, I'm not watching the Street Fighter movie again and again all day.
Okay, the Street Fighter cartoons, the animes.
Weirdly enough, so it is an American cartoon, but it's on Crunchyroll, which is an odd
How does
choice.
that work?
Oh, well, here's the thing. Like, the American cartoon was animated by Madhouse.
Oh.
Okay,
But-
that makes more sense.
The worst things that Madhouse has ever made.
What's
Like,
that?
there are massive animation errors in there. Like, characters will not be to scale. Cells and frames will cut off. Like, physics will look weird in the show.
Well, I imagine that probably partially came from. I know it was directed, voice actors, and scripts were probably done in the U.S. And so then there's obviously the big question of how is the workflow going from the U.S. to Japan, and a lot of those Japanese companies also have Korean animators at a certain point. So I'm sure that was a big thing that caused issues.
Definitely. It didn't help that they were airing this on USA, which was also airing the Darkstalkers and the Mortal Kombat cartoon, which all had the same problems.
Look, the Darkstalkers
Like the animation, like it
was
was
honestly like a piece of brilliance at a few points.
in some ridiculous way. Well, it's like the same deal with like Madhouse. There'd be frames that would look good, but then whenever they try to animate, they'd always just like jump all over the place.
There's this one scene in there where like Morgan and Dimitri are like on some TV show, and they're like, "I'm more evil than you," and then they like break out into a fight on live TV. So stupid. All right, so back to Leo's
Thingy.
blood sporting.
My thing just broke. My bad. That was supposed to happen. Just go back to what we're doing.
No problem. No problem. So I brought up earlier Frank Ducks. Basically, Bloodsport is based on quote unquote true events that transpired, and Frank Ducks essentially he is saying that he went to the Kumite and did all that stuff, and well, turns out someone crunched the numbers. Technically impossible that he fought that many people. Like I think the final number was like, in order to have fought that many people in the elimination bracket, he would have had to fought like, it was like 100 people, and there would have had to been like 1 trillion participants in the Kumite. So yeah, numbers wise, he was lying on that part. The quote unquote trophy he got from the Kumite from winning the championship was utter BS. He didn't get it in Hong Kong. He bought it from a trophy shop in LA apparently, and the trophy shop has pictures of the receipts of that actual transaction. So yeah, he got kind of busted for that too, and his martial arts skills are kind of what we like to call in the martial arts world bullshido, not real. And all
I
of
thought
his...
Bushido was like a code of honor from the
No,
samurai.
bullshido.
No, that's Bushido. Bullshido.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And he claims to be like, oh, I was a CIA operative. I trained the military, really high upper echelon soldiers, and honestly, it's just a bunch of BS on his part. He's a fraudster. The movie itself, I try not to let Frank Dux ruin it for me, but don't take him seriously as like a Shidoshi or anything of that sort. He's no master by any means.
Yeah.
So is that all the thoughts everyone would have on it? Blood sport?
Any
Would
more?
anyone like to share their
thoughts?
personal blood sporting?
Oh man, I just punch a person. I just like have this bloodlust, and I just gotta punch everyone just right in the face with the chair. But other than that, no, I'm good.
All right, Nemo. Thank you. Roman.
Yes.
Any blood sporting you want to talk about?
Well, sometimes when like you get a nosebleed,
Mm-hmm.
because of the punch that you just received,
Oh yeah.
it really puts that sport into you.
Oh,
Due to the
definitely.
blood. Like I have so much sport in me from it. I start trying to do backflips and then I just fall on my face because that doesn't work.
Roman, I think you need to work on your blood sporting, your backflips in particular, but you'll get there.
I know I'll get there someday. Thank you, Sensei.
No problem. Milkman, anything you want to add to this blood sport?
Not really.
Okay. I was not expecting that. Sorry.
Direct and to the point. Mark, anything you want to add? Any passing comments?
I think Jean-Claude Van Damme does great splits.
That no one can argue.
Okay, but actually, I'm so pissed. I used to have my splits until a recent hip surgery, and now they're just gone.
Oof.
They were perfect all the way to the floor, and now I just lost them.
Like you don't have the flexibility for them, or like
Yeah, I just don't have the flexibility anymore.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I'm still like walking. I just not as flexible.
So is this like permanent flexibility gone? Like you can't stretch it back?
No, I could stretch it back. It's just semi-recent, so.
Oh, okay. You got to get some time off.
Watch Time Cop and get inspired.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's another good one
Ooh.
too.
I think if I just have 1.5 montages, I might be able to have them.
We should give him a Rocky montage. Oh, what's that one?
Punch two children.
Gotta fly.
I
It'll
gotta
be in
link
Creed
that.
3 with Airbud.
What was that, Milkman?
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you said something. My mistake. I heard someone say they got to leave or something.
Oh no, I said I'll have my montage in Creed 3 with Airbud.
Oh. And the killer moose. Don't forget him.
You're right. So would Creed 3 have like a Russian dog with Ivan Drago?
A Russian child that was with Ivan Drago. Shrek, best movie of the universe. Don't fight me on that, and I guess we can just end the episode there.
Roman, what do you have to say before we leave?
So would Creed 4 be separate from Airbud Fights 2, or would they continue together?
This has turned to a meme at this point.
It might be. It might be solved in the comment section down below. Everybody, comment down below what you think about Roman's suggestions and thoughts. Milkman, anything else you want to add, buddy?
Well, I did like the 1917 movie. That was pretty good.
That was the
The
new
new
World
one.
War One movie, right?
Yeah.
Birds of Prey was a lot of fun, and as a DC Comics fan, it's fun to actually have films that are great from DC Comics
Films
now.
that are
So
actually-
I'm very happy with DC right now. DC
How
films.
is it compared to Shazam, I guess? Because I like Shazam.
Pretty much on par. Like it doesn't relent on making Harley Quinn a villain. It doesn't try to make her like the good guy or the misunderstood villain. And it's just like a crazy neon kind of like hangover, the hangover cure to like Suicide Squad. It's giddy, it's free, it's insanely violent, and it's like all over the place like a Guy Ritchie film, and I love it.
Okay.
Like DC is taking what they needed to take away from Marvel, which is they make different kinds of films that work, and this one is like a crazy neon heist film, and it works.
All right. For me, closing thoughts. The Snyder Cut, is it real or not? I don't know. Will we
No,
ever
it's
find
not.
out? Probably
real.
not. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here once again. You're on Game Domain, listening to the Film Podcast. I've been your host, Leo. We were joined here today by Mark, Milkman, Roman, and the sad Florida child, Nemo.
Hi.
Thank you for watching, and we will catch you guys on the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.
This film domain.